the guardian of the seas and one of the most powerful heroes of the Justice League against the supreme god of the sea and one of the most feared gods of Olympus. Who wins this epic battle? I'm Andrew the Geek Master, and in this video, we will talk about the mega fight that occurred between Aquaman and Poseidon. To not miss epic battle stories like this, click the subscribe button, activate the notification bell, and let's get started. In Injustice, Superman becomes a dictator after the Joker kills his wife Lois Lane, and in the 4th year of his authoritarian regime, he finally achieves the long-dreamed world peace. With the absence of conflicts, Ares, the god of war, grows weaker and weaker, so he manipulates the gods of Olympus to act against Superman. And indeed, the first battle between heroes and gods ends with the gods' victory. It's true that Superman managed to kill Hercules, but when Zeus appears in the middle of the fight mourning his son's death, he quickly convinces Superman to stop fighting because Superman had been wounded by a magical arrow and knew he couldn't defeat the god of thunder. I made a video about what happened in this first battle, which I'll leave in the cards and the pinned comment. From that moment on, Zeus becomes the ruler of Earth. But it's obvious that Superman wouldn't let things stay that way for long, neither the Man of Steel nor the God of War. When they met, Superman was desperate to find a way to kill Zeus, and Ares confirmed that to fight against gods, Clark would need gods. It happens that Zeus never had unanimous support among the other gods, especially from his brothers. Since Hades wasn't very trustworthy, Superman decided to ask Poseidon for help to balance the game, remembering that Poseidon holds total disdain for Zeus. So the god of the seas takes a massive tsunami to Themyscira that, if it fell on Paradise Island, would kill thousands. When Wonder Woman realizes that the great wave is just waiting for Poseidon's will, she immediately confronts the god of the seas, fearing for the lives of her sisters. Diana asks the mighty Poseidon why he is threatening the Amazons with this display of power, to which Poseidon responds to his niece that his fight is only with the gods of Olympus. According to him, Zeus shouldn't be frivolous with the affairs of men, so he demands that the gods on Zeus's side abandon Zeus's foolish pursuit of Superman. Hermes, the messenger god, is the first to defy Poseidon and the first to take a powerful heat vision blast. Yes, it was at that moment that Superman appeared, revealing that he was on Poseidon's side, much to Diana's despair, who saw this as a betrayal by Clark. Meanwhile, Batman, who is also in Themyscira, desperately contacts Aquaman for help because thousands of lives are at stake. Arthur could feel the tremors from Atlantis, but still refused to help because this fight wasn't his. He even ends the call, making it clear he won't help. But he and his wife Mera are left thinking about how this will affect the marine life they swore to protect. At the same time, Diana asks Clark how he could support this attack on Themyscira, although Superman swore this was not an attack. According to Superman and Poseidon, this is just a war tactic. If the gods don't care about the innocents in Themyscira, they should relinquish their influence over the Amazon army. And if the gods don't do that, the Amazons will have many reasons to abandon their support for the gods who would leave them to die. Diana gets so irritated with Clark playing this dangerous game with her sister's lives and his provocations that she punches Superman in the face. But the worst happens when suddenly someone shoots an arrow into Poseidon's shoulder, making him lose control of the great wave. Yes, to the great despair of both Clark and Diana, the enormous wave of titanic proportions begins to collapse. Atlas orders his people to get behind him, guaranteeing he'll hold the wave. But at that moment, the wave becomes motionless again, before causing any impact. Poseidon furiously asks who dares to challenge the god of the seas, and that's when we see that it's Aquaman who appears with his wife Mera. They were the ones who stopped the wave while Arthur curses the gods. He also turns against Superman, believing that it was Clark who convinced him to do this. But Poseidon claims he is the god of the seas and answers to no one. He even orders Aquaman to return to his underwater kingdom because this fight isn't his. Still, even though Poseidon is rebelling against Zeus and his allies, Aquaman won't let him cause an environmental disaster. Diana goes further and calls Poseidon a hypocrite, and since the god of the seas had no patience for his niece, he simply strikes her with his trident, throwing her into the sea. Seeing this, Superman immediately dives to rescue Wonder Woman, while Aquaman, realizing Poseidon won't back down, also starts a battle against him. Yes, King of the Seas versus God of the Seas, Trident versus Trident, Aquaman versus Poseidon. The fight starts evenly matched, until Poseidon begins to gain the upper hand. After all, as he says, Aquaman may rule the kingdom of Atlantis, but he's still just a man facing a god. Poseidon strikes Aquaman with a low blow, and then drives his trident into the shoulder of the king of Atlantis, throwing him into the sea. Possibly, if the fight continued one-on-one, Poseidon would emerge victorious, but at that moment, Mera appeared to fight alongside her husband. Meanwhile, Clark manages to save Diana from drowning and brings her back to the surface. But Diana remains very irritated. Clark can't betray her and save her with the same breath. And when Superman says he didn't betray her, Diana responds that he allowed himself to be manipulated again, and this needs to end. Back in the battle, Poseidon even praises Queen Mera's mastery over water, but it won't be enough. And he's right, as confirmed when Aquaman begins to beat the Atlantean queen and even mocks her because he expected her to be a bigger challenge than her king. But perhaps Poseidon's biggest mistake was mocking Aquaman's wife. At that moment, Aquaman, who was underwater, simply pulls Poseidon by the foot, stating that now he will have the challenge he was looking for. Arthur starts punching Poseidon multiple times while a squid hands the hero Poseidon's trident. Wielding the weapon of the god of the seas, Aquaman drives the trident into Poseidon's back and then lifts him up, stating that despite the legends saying Poseidon is the god of the seven seas, to Aquaman, he is nothing but fish food. Yes, at that moment a great shark appears at Aquaman's command and devours the god of the seas. Of course, the god of the seas isn't dead. When Arthur returns to the surface, he realizes that Mera isn't powerful enough to hold Poseidon's wave for long, and the result is that the massive killer wave finally crashes down on Themyscira. Fortunately, Batman already had an evacuation plan in place, and the Amazons who would have been killed by the impact were saved by Flash at the last moment. Only some gods and some heroes who survived due to their super resistance suffered the impact. However, at that moment, Zeus finally appears and orders Poseidon, the master of the seas, to move the ocean away from the island immediately, and all Poseidon can do is obey his brother. Zeus still questions why Poseidon allied with the Kryptonian, wanting to know if he was manipulated by Ares, the god of war, but according to Poseidon, his actions are of his own will because no one controls him. This only makes Zeus even angrier because if Poseidon wasn't manipulated, he truly wanted to challenge the god of thunder. But when Zeus confronts him about this, Poseidon simply withdraws, calling Zeus All-Father and stating he doesn't want to challenge him. I hope you enjoyed this incredible battle of a man against a god. If you were as excited as we were about this story, don't forget to leave your like, share it with your friends, and of course, subscribe to the channel to not miss the next sagas we are preparing for you. Comment below what your favorite moment was and what you'd like to see in the next videos. Thanks for watching until here, and see you in the next adventure.